Okay, let's check out Ableton's Simpler, which is kind of like the main sampler. We do have the actual sampler, which is bigger brother, but the Simpler is the most common, and you can find in both the live, the standard, and the suite versions. So I'm going to load it into a Simpler, into a MIDI track. Here it is. And let's load a sample here. I search for a piano. You can see already here in my search bar. Let's take this one. I'm going to drag it down here. Nice. I'm going to close the browser. We don't need it anymore. Let me even delete the other tracks. We don't need them. Now, you can expand this sample view right here with this icon. And you can bring it up and see the sample bigger. But we're going to focus on it in this collapsed view. So we have three main modes for the Simpler, Classic, One Shot, and Slice. In this video, we're going to check out the Classic. The Simpler can do many things like looping and slicing and a bunch of stuff, playing the sample melodically, but it can only handle one sample at a time. So you can't handle more than one sample. That's what the sampler is for. You can check out our other videos about that. So as soon as you load a sample and the track is armed, you can just start playing it. Now I'm going to play the middle C, C3, and that's in the middle of the keyboard. That's going to trigger the sample in its original pitch. Okay, now if I trigger it lower, obviously it's going to be lower in pitch, but also slower. And same thing if I go higher, faster. And that's because the warp is off. So one thing that's super dope here in this sampler, that you can actually time stretch the samples. So let's click 8 bars. Let's click warp as 8 bars. The warp is on. Let's listen to it now. Let's change it to complex mode. It's a bit more smoother. We don't hear those looping, those glitches. Nice. And let's play it lower. Same speed. Nice, so you can absolutely warp it. I'll turn it off for now, but you can warp it if you want, although it's in many cases it's cool that the sample is good. The sample actually slows down and speed up. Nice. Now, right here we have the gain. This is true for all modes. Whatever mode you switch, you'll have the same gain knob. This gain is just boosting the sample. We can see it visually or turning it down. And you won't hear it if you play the sample and change it. Only the next time you trigger it, you'll hear it. Here we have the start of the sample. So although we have this marker right here, we can change the marker. We also have the start from right here of the sample. The loop is off right now. The length, so that's the end. And again, although we have this end marker, we can also change the length of the sample from here. And you'll see in a second why. And fade, it's got to do with the loop. Nice. Now right here, we have snap. And snap, let me zoom in a lot. I'm just going to drag down on the sample display. And you'll see me as I move the mouse. Let's get closer to the waveform. Let's see. So you see how it's we have a tiny bit of gray here. Even though the flag is right here, this gray area is supposedly needs to be cut out. So that's because the snap is on. Snap will automatically try to snap it to the zero crossing. Wherever the waveform meets the middle line, there is zero amplitude. If I turn snap off, now it's going to go all the way, and now it's exactly where our flag where our end marker is. And snap is on to eliminate any clicks and pops that might occur if the looping, and this has got to do with looping, if the looping is not in the zero crossing. So kind of we're going to have a drastic change in amplitude very shortly. It might create a click. So snap is there, snap into the zero crossing. We'll check it later. Voices, how many samples we can trigger. So right now I can actually play multiple notes. Let's play octaves. And let's turn on the warp so they'll all be. So I can play multiple notes at a time. This is how many we can do. Let's go to 1. So now only one of them can be played. And retrig will, that's it depends if cases. Let me turn up the release. We'll talk about it in a later video. And now if I just play the sample and let go of the keys, it still have a release time. Let's bring it up even. We can still hear it. So if I trigger multiple of them, it's going to just get retrig. Now if I stop the retrig, or turn it off, if I turn off the retrig, now it's just going to re-trigger the samples. It's just gonna overlap them. So we'll hear a lot of different lines of the same sample. So that's the retrig, to save CPU and just not to overclutter everything. So that's the retrig. Now, we can also loop. So let's turn on the loop. And now let's bring the marker a bit closer. Let's zoom in. And if I hold the key, let me turn down the release. Nice. So now it's looping. Now, we can change where the loop is starting from. So here in the loop, now it's been enabled. You'll see it's grayed out when the loop is off. Now we can decide that the sample starts from here, but the looping only starts from there. Nice. And this is the length, which before the loop was on, is just kind of like the ending of the sample. Here we can set the ending of the loop, and it will also change the beginning of it. So using the start, the loop start, and the length, we can decide on which section to actually loop. And right here we can also fade, but we cannot fade if the warp is on. Let me turn the warp off. Now we can add a fade in and a fade out between the beginning and ending of the looping. And now we can loop sections, and of course this is not very smooth in this case, but in most cases you'll be able to find a place where it's smooth. You can add some more reverb and thus creating infinite notes. Check our Instagram, we have made a BitLab short on that. Nice. So that's the classic mode in the Simpler. We still need to talk about the one shot, the slicing, all these other controls, and even the controls tab, which have a bunch of stuff here that kind of showcase how Simpler is actually a synthesizer, but the oscillator is a sample. Nice. Catch you next time.